So today we'll go through role customization. We'll see how a role can be customized. Okay, so for doing that, you need to go to setup. If you scroll down, you will see role, user and roles. Okay. Now there are two things here. We'll see how you can manage a user and how you can manage the roles as well. Okay, so first we'll go through manage roles. So what NetSuite does is it provides some standard roles. Okay, standard roles in the sense such as accounting, accountant, AR clerk, AP clerk, uh, then store manager, and so on and so forth. Okay, and each role has a center associated with it. So if I sort it by center type, you will see that we have the accounting center. Okay, apart from that, we'll also have classic center, which is the one that we use, wherein you see all these activities, transactions, and all other many options. Apart from that, you also have customer center. In case if you're using e-commerce or website, then you will have this e-commerce management center as well. Employee center. This is a, you can say, a very limited role. Okay, all other roles are full access roles. Okay, wherein you have to pay a certain amount, but for employee center role, the cost is very minimum. It's, I think, even 1/5 of the regular role. Okay, so all the users who will be entering only timesheets and expense reports can be given this employee center role. Okay, apart from that, you can have executive center. Executive center is generally for the CEO, CFO, and the management. Okay, then you have marketing center. Partner center. Partner center is also a APC kind of role, or alliance partner role, wherein sorry, advanced partner center role, wherein you can give them some limited functionality to the external partners. Apart from that, you can have project center, sales center, and shipping and support center. Okay, so you can categorize these roles depending on the center type. Okay, and also you can see that whether that role is a customized or standard role or a customized role. Wherever you see this customized button is a standard role. Wherever you see a edit button is a role which has been customized. Any questions till now?
No.
Okay, so here you can see that there are various standard roles which have been already provided by NetSuite, and depending on the role type, they can also be given various center types. Okay, center types, you can say, define which area a particular person or a role works in. Okay, so here you can see that there are various standard rules which are available. So here till here we have these center, or you can say the standard rules. Now if you want to customize a particular role, okay, why customize? Because if NetSuite has already provided these standard rules, why is the need to customize a rule? Because even if NetSuite has customized these standard rules, depending on the organization, there might be a requirement that the accountant might not require some information or permissions, or it might require some additional permissions as well. So in that case, what we can do is we can use these standard rules to customize or tailor it as per the requirement of the organization or the client. Okay, so for example, if I want to customize a particular role, so for example, if I want to customize this particular accountant role, I'll just click on customize. and it will take me to the page wherein I can customize, I can give various permissions to a particular role. So here I can give it a name, a custom name that would like to have. I can give it a ID. The ID is nothing but the internal ID, so that in case if I'm using this particular role in scripting, I'll be using that particular role. And here you can see that the center automatically pops up depending on the role that we are customizing. Apart from that, employee restriction. There can be some restrictions that can be put in. Okay, so just a minute. Okay. So you can put in some restrictions. Okay. So here you can see that employee restriction. So depending on the employee, we can define various locations, departments, and cost centers, right? Do you remember that? Hello?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, so on the employee, you can set the location, department, and cost center, and subsidiaries as well. Okay, so depending on that, if we have defined something on that employee master, here this restriction would come into picture. None, no default. What this does is it will have no restriction. So this particular employee or this particular role will be able to see all the transactions or all the information related to other departments as well, or other locations as well. Okay, and it would not default to anything. None default to own. So what this does is it will not restrict any employees, but what it would do is, so whenever is a particular means employee tries to enter a particular transaction, it will default to own. So in case if we have defined that the location for this particular employee is say Mumbai, so it will pull in location as Mumbai, so it will default to own. Okay, but the user will be able to change that, and there will be no restriction. Do you get that? What do you mean by none default to own? None default to own means there are no restrictions. The user will be able to see all the information for all the locations or all the departments. Okay, but default to own means if he is from Mumbai and if he is trying to enter a particular, say, purchase order, okay, so it will automatically fetch the default location as Mumbai, but he will be able to change it if required.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Apart from that, own, subordinate, and unassigned. Own means what is its own location. Subordinate in this sense, if that particular location has some child locations, in that case, he will be able to see the information or transactions of the child location as well. And unassigned, in case if we have not selected any location on any transaction, then the user will be able to see those transactions also. So he'll be able to see three type of transactions. Okay, and own and subordinates only is he will be able to see only transactions which are for his own location or classification, and subordinates or child location, but he'll not be even able to see the unassigned transactions. So for a particular transaction, if we have not selected any location, that user will not be able to see those transactions. So do you get these four different options? Unassigned in the sense, if you have not selected anything on the transaction, if the location is not mandatory and if you have not selected it, so it will be unassigned, right? It's not to any location. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
Wherever you have not selected anything are nothing but unassigned. All the classifications.
Okay.
All the classifications, locations, department, cost center. In case if you have created any custom segments, and if you have selected those on the employee, then those restrictions would apply. Okay, and if you have selected this, you will have the option at least. So here the user will not be able to see or edit it. But in case if you check this particular checkbox, the user will be able to see the transactions of other locations or cost centers, but will not be able to edit it if you check this checkbox. Okay.
Okay. Oh,
Similarly, issue role is not that important. Apart from that, do not restrict employee fields. In case if you don't want to restrict employee fields, we can check this checkbox. In case if you want to restrict this particular role only for time and expenses, then we can check this checkbox. If this is a sales role, then we can have this checkbox. Support role, partner role. So sales and support, you might have when we went to the employee, right, whether that particular role is for a particular, or that particular employee is a support employee or sales employee. So you can define it on the role as well. Okay, and this is a partner role. In case if this is a partner, we can give access to various partners as well, so that can be defined here as well. And core administration permissions. So the administration permissions are generally only with the administrator, right? But you cannot give administrator access to each and every role, right? So in case if you want to give some administration permissions to a particular role, you can make this as a core administration permission, so that even if that role is not an administrator, it can be given some administration permissions. Okay, so we spoke about the restrictions, okay, for classifications. But in case if you want to restrict this particular user as per subsidiary as well, we can do that. In case if we want the user to be accessible to all the subsidiaries, then we can select these all. Active means all the active subsidiaries. User subsidiaries, that the user will be able to access transactions only related to his particular subsidiary which has been selected on his employee master. Selected, if you select selected, then you can select some specific subsidiaries if required, so that that particular role would be able to see transactions or enter transactions related to the selected subsidiaries. Okay, similarly, if we have selected something and if we want the user to be able to at least view transactions of other subsidiaries, then it would be possible. Going ahead, whether this is a single sign-on apply. Single sign-on, do you know what is a single sign-on?
yeah, like that. Now, if we sign in our laptop, so all of the our portal and company website automatically sign in, or like that.
Right. So in case if we want to use a single sign-on or the same password that we use for other applications as well, then we can check this checkbox. So the single sign-on password would be applicable here. If in case if this is a web service only role, so that the user will not be able to log in through a UI. In case if we are doing some integration with a third-party software and there we are going to use web services, then we can check this checkbox. In case if we want to restrict this particular user to a device ID, we can do that as well. So device ID can be defined on the user, and only that particular user would be able to log in if he is using a particular machine or device which have been given the restriction. Apart from that, in case if we have a new module, you can say a supply chain module, then it will have these features: estimated landed cost and enable customer part number. It's not part of the standard module, it's part of the a new module which is known as supply chain. Okay, apart from that, whether you want these particular role to have the two-factor authentication, so that whenever a user logs in with a particular password, whether there should be any two-factor authentication required. If in case if it is required, then for how many sessions or how many duration, that particular 2FA should be applicable. Maximum you can do it for 30 days. Okay, Any questions till now? This is also another module, dunning module, that is a part of the dunning module. Okay, these particular fields. Any questions till now?
No problem.